one more.
Okay, we'll keep the call open on that item. Thank you. AB 44, Assemblymember Friedman. Morning.
Morning.
Bill does enjoy a due pass recommendation with 2 suggested committee amendments.
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. I'd like to accept the 2 proposed committee amendments at the top of page 5. With regards to amendment number 1, we do have some concerns with the language and would like to keep working with the committee on tightening the language to narrow the exemption so that it's limited perhaps to skins taken with a valid California hunting license. So we'll like that option. AB 44 would make it unlawful to give, sell, or manufacture a new fur product in the state of California. If passed, California will be the first state in the country to ban the cruel and unnecessary fur trade within its boundaries. Fur is not a byproduct of the meat industry, and I repeat, the fur that is purchased in a furrier is not the byproduct of the meat industry. It comes from animals that are factory farmed or trapped purely for fashion. Fur farming and the fur trade are largely self-regulated. In the U.S., I was very surprised to learn that there are no federal laws providing protection for animals held on these farms, and fur-bearing animals are not subject to humane slaughter rules, the way that animals slaughtered for food are. Today, there are a variety of humane and very chic alternatives in terms of faux fur that's virtually indistinguishable from real fur, and alternative textiles that are just as warm and just as fashionable. Companies around the world are fueling innovation in new and sustainable fabrics, and a lot of our major fashion manufacturers have already gotten the message about cruelty-free products and the desirability of them. Retailers such as Gucci, Michael Kors, Jimmy Choo, Armani, Burberry, and Chanel have made the decision to go fur-free. Several cities, including Los Angeles, West Hollywood, San Francisco, and Berkeley, have already taken a stand by passing ordinances making it illegal to sell, trade, or manufacture fur within their boundaries. And to be clear, this bill does not affect leather, sheep fur, and cow fur, animals that are harvested for food. And we want to be clear that my philosophy is that if you are taking an animal for food, you should use every bit of that animal. So we were very clear to exempt those animals. We are not controlling leather and shearling. AB 44 is supported by Hugo Boss, Patagonia, retailer H&M, Stella McCartney, Susie and Jack Welch, Mayor Eric Garcetti from Los Angeles, and over 60 other designers, retailers, and organizations. With me today to testify in support of AB 44 is P.J. Smith with the Humane Society, Mark Ching, founder of Animal Hope and Legislation, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you.
Hello. Thank you. My name is P.J. Smith, and I'm the Director of Fashion Policy for the Humane Society of the United States, a proud co-sponsor of AB 44. On behalf of the Humane Society of the United States and our many supporters across California, we'd like to thank Assemblywoman Friedman for introducing this historic piece of legislation, which, if passed, would make California the first state to ban the cruel and unnecessary fur trade. For the past decade, I've worked with dozens of the top apparel companies to create policies that are good for animals and the environment, from luxury brands like Gucci, Chanel, Burberry, and Michael Kors to retailers like TJ Maxx and Burlington Coat Factory. When these companies do their homework and they actually examine the fur trade closely, every marketing scheme, every vague claim, and every certification program, they quickly realize there's no way to humanely source fur. Sadly, the fur industry continues to try to greenwash its trade with different industry-funded marketing schemes. But thankfully, top fashion brands, even the ones that sold fur, are seeing right through these schemes and are choosing to go fur-free since they fail to address the serious animal welfare problems inherent with confining an undomesticated animal in a small barren cage for its entire life. Death by anal electrocution or gassing is standard on fur factory farms. As well, animals, including threatened species and even our pets, are caught in indiscriminate leg hold traps for days without food or water. It's an accepted norm. Numerous investigations have shown that certified farms are still rampant with self-mutilation, injuries because of a lack of vet care, and foxes that are bred to have so much skin they are no longer able to move properly. Today, consumers care about animal welfare and innovation more than ever, and fashion brands are responding to this growing market by announcing fur-free policies. When online luxury retailer Net-a-Porter first considered going fur-free, It surveyed 25,000 of its customers, including those that spend over $1 million on its site every year, and they overwhelmingly asked the company to go for free. Now, fashion companies left and right are rejecting the fur industry's disingenuous attempts to market fur as humane and realize that company or consumers want nothing to do with animal cruelty in their clothing choices. This has led to an onslaught of companies rejecting fur. Just in 2018, Chanel, Burberry, Versace, Diane von Furstenberg, Donna Karan, Coach, InStyle Magazine, Farfetch, TJ Maxx, and Columbia Sportswear announced fur-free policies. In 2017, it was Gucci, Michael Kors, Yux Net-a-Porter, Jimmy Choo, Burlington Coat Factory, and the North Face. And before that, it was Armani, Ralph Lauren, Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Hugo Boss, Stella McCartney, and dozens of others. This mass exodus is only speeding up as more companies pledge to no longer sell fur. More countries like United Kingdom, Norway, and the Netherlands banned fur production, and more cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco banned fur sales. This is bringing innovative and sustainable alternatives to take its place. Right now, fashion brands are working with faux fur companies to create biodegradable materials that have the same look and feel as fur, but without the cruelty.
I'm going to ask if you
Yeah.
can summarize your.
As a state that's known for innovation, California has a great opportunity to capitalize on this growing market, as well as solidify its position as the most humane state in the nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next witness, please. And he took most of your time off.
Sure.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. Hi,
ahead.
my name is Mark from Animal Hope and Legislation. I'm one of the co-sponsors of this bill, and I'd like to thank Laura for being such an amazing sponsor and so strong to stand. California being the most humane state, fur in the cruel way animals are inhumanely exploited for their skin should not be allowed. Those in opposition and support of the fur industry claim that fur is humane, and that much of what is seen in regards to the videos that are shared on social media are fake or outdated. Part of what our history has been in our group is that we've gone into fur farms throughout the United States, Canada, Finland, and China. Earlier today, I heard a story of a lamb and its suffering and how hard it was to see that and how sad and how gut-wrenching. I have walked those same type of things in fur farms where there are these small cages that they're bred in and never touch ground ever. And not just that, they are stunned and electrocuted and maimed. But the worst part of it is, even though they're not trying to, many of these foxes are still alive at the end, hanging from these hooks where they rip their skin off and you can hear them screaming. There is no way to regulate that. Regulation of the fur industry, and California being the humane state it is 100% impossible to do that. This bill is about cruelty. It's about ethics, and it's about putting compassion first as Californians. Being in an environment where you get to witness these things, there is no suffering greater than that of something or someone that you cannot help, where when you look at it, I ask that you imagine your own children or someone you love and your friends and your family. Imagine being enslaved and being that race and watching every day that suffering. That's what this bill stands against, and that's what we are here for. Ethics, compassion, morality, and humanity. And there is no way to regulate an industry like that, and we ask you for your yes votes in support of AB 44. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open it up for others who would like to speak in support of the measure. Your name and organization.
Nicholas Sackett, Social Compassion Legislation and strong support.
Thank you.
Again, Cole Origenes, Santa Clara County, Anonymous for the Voiceless. We're in support of this because there's always a way to live life without harming others. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tania Campos Suarez. I live in Berkeley, California. I'm here today on behalf of Direct Action Everywhere, and I strongly support this bill.
Crystal Moreland with the Humane Society of the United States. On behalf of our membership, we strongly support this bill.
Michael Goldberg, El Cerrito, California. On behalf of Compassionate Bay, I strongly support this bill. It is absolutely cruel and inhumane to let this fur industry continue. The sale of fur must be banned in San Francisco. Thank you. Banned in California.
Simone Reyes, Social Compassion and Legislation, in strong support. Thank you.
Paula Santorio, Fairfield, California, member of DXC, very strong support.
Leslie Goldberg, El Cerrito, California, in strong support. I'm representing Compassionate Bay.
I'm Diana Navon from Berkeley. I represent Direct Action Everywhere, and I have strong support for this bill.
Alex Santurio, representing DXC, Fairfield, California. Yes.
Sheila Miller, resident of El Granada, California, representing DXC. I ask you for your compassion and empathy. I strongly support this bill.
Matthew McKenna, Oakland, California. I strongly support this bill.
Good morning again. Erin Hauge on behalf of Project Coyote in strong support of AB 44. Thank you.
Sandy Mel, DXC, and I strongly support this. Thank you.
Corey Rowland, Berkeley, California. I'm with Direct Action Everywhere. I strongly support this.
Hi again, Katie Cleary, President of Peace for Animals and World Animal News and Executive Producer of Give Me Shelter on Netflix, where we highlighted this issue and we showed what happened. So we strongly support.
Hi, I'm Bobby Said from Los Angeles, California, and I'm speaking on behalf of LA Animal Save, and we strongly support this bill.
Hi, Katie Brown from Lancaster, California, and member of Direct Action Everywhere in strong support. Thanks.
Matthew Hamady on behalf of In Defense of Animals and its 250,000 members in strong support.
Hi, Megan Stein, resident of Berkeley. I am with Direct Action Everywhere, and I am strongly in support of this bill. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Cassie King. I'm a resident of Berkeley and organizer with Direct Action Everywhere. And from myself and my bunny at home, who was rescued from slaughter, I would urge you to support this bill for all of those animals. Thank you.
Linda Middlesworth, Sacramento Vegan Society, with over 4,000 members, supports this bill, as well as I'm a member of DXC. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Isha Dahake. I'm part of the Berkeley chapter for Direct Action Everywhere, and I'm in strong support of this bill and protecting all living beings. Thank you.
As I said earlier, my name is Ian Hennis, and I'm visiting from New Jersey, and I'm in full support of this bill so that California will serve as a model state for how to properly treat animals with no cruelty. Thank you.
My name is Sato Yamanaka from Tokyo, Japan, and on behalf of all our friends in fur, I'm in full support. Thank you.
Raven Deerbrook of Berkeley, California, and as a believer in compassion, I strongly urge you to support this bill. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Booster. I'm from Santa Clara, and on behalf of Project Coyote, I vote yes on support for compassion. Thank you.
Judy Lindo from Marin County, Sonoma County, in strong support of this bill.
Anna Hornick from San Mateo, California, strong support for this bill.
Jacoby Moreno, native of Sacramento, in strong support of this bill.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Danner, resident of San Francisco, California, and I'm with DXC, and I'm in strong support.
Hi there, my name is Jocelyn Cole. I'm an organizer for the SAVE movement and for Direct Action Everywhere. I'm in strong support of this bill.
Lisa Carlin from Westlake Village, California, and representing Social Compassion Legislation in strong support of this bill.
Mark Lucas, Sacramento Vegan Society and Direct Action, strong support for the bill. Thank you.
Hello again, Wendy Bramble, organizer for Anonymous for the Voiceless, Sacramento, California, strongly support. Thank you.
Hi, Judy Mancuso again, Social Compassion and Legislation in support of the bill. Thank you, Assemblymember Friedman.
Hi, Valerie Iannello. I am strongly in support of this bill as well. Thank you.
Jay Quigley, Berkeley Coalition for Animals, asking you to make history with an I vote.
Helene Meshar on behalf of the City of West Hollywood in support.
Hi, Cinder, California Conservation Corps graduate, Humboldt County. Trapping animals is not a conservation effort. I support this bill.
Matthew Dembski, San Francisco, and I support this bill. Thank you.
Alicia Santorio, San Francisco, California. I'm with the SAVE movement and Direct Action Everywhere, and I support this bill.
Priya Sahani, resident of Berkeley, California, and organizer with Direct Action Everywhere. I support this bill for the billions of animals who've lost their lives.
Enoch Zepeda, Sacramento, California, with Sacramento Vegan Society and DXC, and U.S. Air Force veteran. I support this bill.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Rico Mastrodonato with the Trust for Public Land. Thank you, Assemblymember Friedman. Sorry for the late support, but nonetheless strong support for this bill.
Molly Colton, Sierra Club, California. We support this bill and urgent aye vote. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dottie McLean from Sacramento, and I'm with DXC, and we strongly support this bill. Let's make for history.
I'm Tonya Moore from San Mateo, California. Strong support for the bill, and just want to demonstrate that you can wear very stylish, warm clothing that no one suffered for.
John Frohnmeyer from Berkeley, California. I just want to say thank you in advance for making California a leader in compassion.
I'm Virginia Fior from Berkeley, California, with Direct Action Everywhere, and I strongly support this bill. Thank you.
I'm Karen Occolini, again from Garden Valley, California, and I would like to see California continue to lead the nation in humane practices for our animals, and I support this bill.
Hi, I'm Janice Myers from Georgetown, California, and I strongly support this bill.
Judy Carnazzo from Greenwood, California, El Dorado County, and I strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Mariam Kamali from Belmont, San Mateo County. Strongly support this bill.
I'm Louis Bernier. I'm an investigator with Direct Action Everywhere, and I support AB 44 for all the animals I've met inside fur farms.
My name is Thomas Chang. I'm from San Francisco, representing Direct Action Everywhere and Anonymous for the Voiceless, in strong support for AB 44. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dan Cho. I'm here on behalf of DXE, and I strongly support AB 44, and I implore you to do the right thing and support it as well.
My name's Eva Hamer. I'm a resident of Berkeley, California, and an organizer with Direct Action Everywhere, and I urge you to support this bill.
Michael Dizelle, a resident of San Benito County and a member of Direct Action Everywhere. I strongly see that you support this bill.
Cecilia Marquez, Oakland, California. I strongly support this bill.
Dylan Wells, student at Sacramento State University. Please let us lead the nation in compassion rather than interest in industry profit. Thank you.
I'm Hasti. I'm from Sacramento. I'm with Direct Action Everywhere. I strongly support this bill. We need to put compassion for all living beings on this planet. Thank you.
Deborah Clausen, I'm here from Nevada on behalf of myself and my bunny Moby, who will not be having his skin removed in order to line a pair of gloves. I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Galen Hazelhofer from Sacramento, California. I strongly support this bill.
Hi, I'm Donna Preston, and I'm from San Diego. I live in Sacramento now, and I strongly support AB 44. I'm with Sacramento Animal Rights. I'm with Sacramento Vegan Society. Over 4,000 members. So many people couldn't be here today. Yes, vote.
Hi. Nicole Hauser from Manteca, California. If you all have pets at home, I would like to remind you that they deserve the love and compassion, and maybe they can help you relate to the other animals that aren't pets necessarily, but all animals deserve compassion. So please find it in your hearts today to protect them. Thank you. Let's keep California progressive. Thanks.
Tammy Yu from Woodland, Yolo County, California, in support of this bill.
Mike Sage, Santa Clara, support.
Sayed Rizvi, San Jose, support.
Good morning. Kesia Doolittle with Jikoji Zen Center of Los Gatos.
The public knows that fur is synonymous with torture, and it's on its way out, so let's be the first state to ban it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kitty Jones, Berkeley. I'm representing Direct Action Everywhere. I support this. Make Fur history.
Wayne Xiong, also from Berkeley, California, representing Direct Action Everywhere, or DXE. And I strongly support this bill and encourage all of you to do the same. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Jason Davis from Folsom, California. I support this bill.
My name is John Cameron from Dublin, California. And anybody that would be against this bill, I would just ask them if they could do one day, picture yourself in one of these cages just for one day. And even people in the fur industry who support this wholeheartedly would change their mind in a heartbeat. Thank you.
Good morning. Jay Fitzgerald from Stanislaus County. I strongly support this bill and urge you to vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Your name, organization?
Elise Ferguson, resident of Manteca, California. I support this bill.
My name is Jim Jensold. I'm with PAW Project, and a nonprofit. I'm from Los Angeles. I support this bill.
Hello, my name is Harrison Ribeiro from Oakland, California, by way of Newport Beach, and I support this bill.
Doug Fuller, Direct Action Everywhere. To make compassion the fashion, I support this bill.
My name's Almira Tanner. I'm from San Jose, California with Direct Action Everywhere, and I support this bill.
Hi, my name's Anastasia Mel. I'm from Berkeley, California, Direct Action Everywhere, and I'm strongly supporting this bill.
Hi, I'm Rachel Ziegler from Berkeley, California with Direct Action Everywhere. I support this bill and I hope you will too.
Victoria Olson, resident of Wilton, California. Strongly support this bill, 35 years overdue. Can't believe we're even talking about it.
Rhiannon Whitney of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. I agree with what she and everybody else is saying. This is such an archaic practice. It's so outdated. It's so cruel. There's absolutely no reason, especially in California, where you guys have the nicest climate. I live in Canada. I don't wear fur. It's freezing cold up there. This is just total support, total support.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Matt Robinson with Shawgetter Antwi. I was asked by my colleague to express the support of Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Julie Waldrop, representing Compassionate Bay and DXE, and I support this bill.
Fleur Dawes with In Defense of Animals, and also a resident of Marin County, in strong support of this bill. And I'm reminding you that dozens of countries around the world have already legislated against fur. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask those who are going to be testifying in opposition to the bill, please come forward if there's anyone doing so. There is a motion. Motion by Mr. Kalra, second by Mr. Gloria. Please proceed.
Good morning. My name is Keith Kaplan. I'm a resident of West Hollywood for 30 years, and I am with the Fur Information Council of America. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. We're aware of the HSUS studies that you've seen. They're inaccurate, they're outdated, a decade old, and if you saw Women's Wear Daily last week, they've exposed an investigation that the Skinning Alive video was bought and paid for, a snuff film to create a narrative. Animal rights groups have not presented you with the facts. We welcome the chance to sit down and talk. We share your concerns for animal welfare, and we work vigorously towards improving animal welfare practices based on science and technology. Give us a chance to tell you about it. AB 44 has presented a good starting point for us to work together to identify and implement meaningful programs to address these issues on a global scale. But a ban is not the answer. In WeHo, the ban prompted retailers and customers to go to Beverly Hills. In San Francisco, retailers are planning outposts in Palo Alto. A ban will simply send consumers out of California to purchase fur. California loses jobs, California loses tax revenues, and in the end, the ban itself has little impact on animal welfare. But what a ban will do is take away consumers' right to choose. You will take away their right to purchase a natural, renewable, and sustainable product like natural fur, leaving them only synthetic fibers that violate the very core values of sustainability. Products like fake fur that are petroleum-based, non-biodegradable, and impose an environmental threat so real that even here in your own assembly, Assemblymember Bloom has recognized this threat with the introduction of a microfiber bill. So let's all pause. Take the time to educate ourselves and talk to each other. And working together, let's make the best decisions to meet the objectives of improving animal welfare in as impactful and broad a way as possible. Thank you.
My name is Nancy Daigneault. I'm the Vice President of the International Fur Federation for the Americas region. I'd like to thank Ms. Friedman for the opportunity to participate in this dialogue. And although we are opposed to AB 44, we do want to work with you on an alternative. And our alternative will have real and meaningful impacts on global animal welfare standards. The alternative is called FurMark, a brand new global program that will ensure high animal welfare standards and traceability in addition to the already stringent regulations that are in effect at the state level. FurMark is about audits and accountability. Third-party independent animal welfare audits at the farm level in the U.S., Canada, and Europe. These audits are new and are being done to ensure farms are following all fur farming standards in addition to the already stringent regulations at the state level. The audits will weed out anyone not adhering to the standards. FurMark is about additional random audits at the dressing and dyeing level to ensure chemical compliance. And finally, FurMark is about traceability, a brand new blockchain cloud-based system that will trace all pelts from the farm level through to the manufacturing stage. All of this will mean accountability, third-party certification, and ultimately confidence in the system. Should California adopt this new system, it'll put California at the forefront of certification for fur and force others around the world to follow California's lead. FurMark will also serve to educate the consumer and others about fur farming facts. Facts like fur farming creates a lot more products than just fur. Products like mink oil, which is used as a leather conditioner. The meat is used as a preferred lure in the crab fishing industry. And the meat sometimes is rendered down and used as a biofuel. And finally, it is used in the pet food industry. We want to work with you and create a conversation on FurMark as the better alternative to an outright ban. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to see if others who want to speak in opposition to the bill, you state your name and organization, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Matt Gray on behalf of Taxpayers for Improving Public Safety. While well-intended, the inevitable result of AB 44 is the reliance upon, and what a lot of advocates call for, synthetic materials which are petroleum-based. Wall Street Journal 2 days ago came out with an article concerned about the microfibers in our aquatic systems and poisoning our fish, causing liver failure, premature death, and ending up in our foods that we eat and found in our tissue and fecal matter. So it's ending up in our shrimp, it's ending up in plankton, it's ending up all over the place. Plankton provides half of our world's oxygen, so we ask for your opposition. Thank you.
Michael Whelan, Fur Commission USA. We oppose.
Sarah Wolfong, I'm here on behalf of the Los Angeles County Business Federation, also known as BizFed. We're an alliance of 180 business associations that represent about 400,000 employers with 3.5 million employees in Los Angeles County. We believe there's a lot of misrepresentation around the fur industry, and we are opposed to AB 44. Thank you.
Thank you again. We do have a motion and a second. Any questions from my colleagues? Assemblymember Levine, followed by Ms. Gloria.
Yeah, Ms. Friedman, thank you very much for this bill. I think we all, or I can't speak for everyone, I support the goal that you're trying to seek. You have a number of carve-outs, if you will, about use of the whole animal. There are farms in Northern California that do raise rabbit meat, that do use the pelts. And so I'd like to ask you to incorporate amendments that allow for that use. I think the carve-outs don't allow for that, but they allow for the use of the entire animal for other purposes. Can you do that?
Yeah, you had brought this up as a concern, and Mr. Salas had also brought up goats, and which in his community are eaten, and would people be able to use those pelts? And our intention is not to have anybody throw away a pelt after an animal has been eaten. So we're happy to work with you and with the committee on an amendment to see if we can bring them into compliance in a way with this bill, because again, the animals that we are targeting are ones that are raised solely for their fur. And we do believe that if people are eating rabbits or eating goats or eating cow or sheep, they should be able to use that. And just to respond to one thing that was said was about the synthetics causing pollution. There are plenty of alternatives under our bill, sheep and cow, and also there's wool to use as a coat. So if you are concerned about synthetics, you don't have to use them. You can still have a nice warm coat.
All right, thank you
Those
very much.
materials. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Friedman, for this legislation. I just wanted to be clear with amendment number 2 that was suggested by the committee staff. Did you accept that amendment?
We accepted it, and yes, we accepted it.
Thank you, and that's the one pertaining to Native American.
Yes, that was accepted.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you, Ms. Friedman, for offering this legislation. I want to thank the chairman and his staff for the analysis that was provided. I recognize this issue can engender a lot of emotion, but for me, this is simply a question of doing right or wrong. I understand that there are alternatives that work. I think the mention of alternative regime to work with, this is not what California wants to do. We want to truly lead, and by leading that is by banning this particular practice that I see as inhumane and not worthy of 21st century society. So I applaud you in your leadership on this, and I'm happy to second the motion today.
Thank you.
Mr. Bigelow?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Friedman. I appreciate your goal here to try to be humane and address those concerns that you've raised here. There are some alternatives and some industry standards that are changing, and I think we heard them. Are you going to be able to work with some of those ideas that have been proposed here, listen to them, and see how they can be incorporated? That would be my first question to you. So I don't compound question here.
I would just say that I think that that's an admirable goal, certainly, but there are thousands, and probably hundreds of thousands of fur operations all around the world, and it's very difficult to source any product. And to say that if we set up a standard, then all of a sudden every single fur that's sold in California would be humanely sourced, you could never say that with the amount of garments that come into the state. So there'd be really no way for retailers to know. It's very difficult to source as it is. We've heard reports of retailers, often of even major retailers buying products that end up having lead in them or other products. So if you care about the compassion, you just have to say, we're not going to allow this product because we know that around the world there's so many inhumane practices, and really some of the ones that were cited here are probably some of the best actors. But there are a lot of countries where there's no standards at all for how animals are raised and slaughtered, and a lot of those end up in the California market. So that would be my response to that.
So given that said, that opens the door, since we can't regulate the world, we can't regulate outside our own boundaries, but we can regulate within. So looking at the logic that maybe if we can work within our own state boundaries where we can handle those type of regulations and make sure that the products that are sold here are humanely treated with those type of regulations, so that we do have a quality assurance program when we do have a product here in California. So maybe you can work with the author on that and dealing with that. Second question, going to Mr. Levine's point, going back to the 4-H and FFA days, there are a lot of folks out here in the world that have rabbit farms, or people that have the goat farms, both large goats, meat goats, and for the fur, and as well as the pygmy type goats, with the different types of furs. All of them are edible products that are being consumed. I'm glad to hear that you're going to take an amendment and try to adjust for that. But I'm also concerned about the fact that the state of California sells tags for deer and bear and certain animals, even wild pigs. While it's been my passion of an issue, those animals, we wouldn't be able to use those hides as part of the take. So does your bill, or would you be willing to take an amendment to clarify animals that are taken under the state licensed tagged per take unit?
Yeah, that's the First Amendment that the committee gave us.
So that is included? Maybe
Yeah.
I missed that specific type language, dealing with licensed hunt takes?
Yes, that was the First Amendment from the committee.
Okay,
So as long as you have a hunting license, as long as it was taken with
I just want to be real
a
clear,
California
because
hunting license.
I think there was some confusion on whether that fully
Yeah,
did.
they're looking at the language right now, but that was certainly the intent of the amendment, and it's our intent as well.
Okay, so That is the author's intent as stated.
Yes, my intent is that if you take the animal with a valid hunting license, or if it's an animal that is being, taken for meat within California, and we had a lot of discussion. We actually didn't think about goats, so I was glad that it was brought up by Mr. Salas. And we did have conversations about rabbit. And so the reason that we didn't allow all rabbit is because there is rabbit that is raised just for fur, in a lot of places. But for the animals that are raised for meat, I do believe that they should use those pelts. I mean, philosophically, I believe in using all of that, and so we'll work on language to make sure that as long as we really know that that's what they were raised for, that's my intent, to find the language to do that. But goat, we can, I have to talk to I just spoke to the Humane Society. They didn't have a problem with it, but, I think goat should be fine.
Well, one's fur, one's wool. So you got to understand, there's the sheep with
Yes.
wool, and then there's the fur type hide.
Yes, yeah, that's already in the bill. Shearling is specifically called out as being acceptable, and cow fur, and cow skin with fur.
We need to make it more clear. We can work.
Yeah, we will do
to
that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, on that, for that clarification.
All right. We have a question from Mr. Colruyt, followed by Mr. Dolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Friedman, for bringing this bill forward. I think we're having somewhat of an evolution of consciousness of how our actions have impacts, whether it's talking about global warming and what have you, or in this case, how our actions have impacts on wildlife and on animals. And I think it's a good thing. And I think your bill, as well as Senator Gonzalez's bill earlier, are part of that movement of consciousness that we're realizing that we have choices and our choices have an impact. And, whether if it's fashion versus fur, or if it's personal preference versus the pain caused, those are choices that people make. But I think the state does have a role, especially when it's not something that is necessary for us to be able to support ourselves, our families, and if it's just a kind of and I like that there's a hashtag that was already made, make compassion the fashion, someone said. But the reality is that if it's not about some of the very specific carve-outs that have already been mentioned, but really just about fashion, I think we've already seen the fashion trends moving in a positive direction. And I think that the timing is great for California to take the lead on this. And I think it will help to lead the rest of the nation. And I certainly applaud the industry because, again, this is just one state. Fur is sold around the world. If the industry is going to do things to improve their practices, that should be applauded. And we're not going to, certainly discourage that. But I think this is an issue where it's pretty black and white as to what we need to do. And I think this is a time for us to make it very clear that fur is not necessary and that we don't need to harm animals in order to either clothe ourselves, to style ourselves. And I think that this is a great step today. And I really want to appreciate the chair and the staff for an excellent analysis for this particular bill, as well as Senator Gonzalez's bill, I think, outlining where we are today and where we need to go in the future. So, again, thank you, Senator Friedman.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you having the dialogue about the rabbits and the goat hides. I want to, first of all, I think that, technology's obviously changed. I don't have any fur that I'm aware of anywhere in my house. I use the great things that Cabela's makes to keep the rain off of me and keep warm. And so I want to share that with you. I also have a question, though. I did look at your amendments. I was looked over those amendments, and the one amendment for Native Americans, I have Native Americans all over my district that aren't recognized either federally or by California. And I know your amendment did state that it was by tribes that were recognized. And so there are a lot of Native Americans throughout my district that aren't recognized, but they are Native Americans who still practice their traditions with pelts. So I was wondering if I don't know even, I was thinking about how we'd address that even because they're not recognized, but they are Native Americans. So I just want to bring that to your attention, something that I know I'm going to hear from the Native American population in my district, and there are thousands of them actually that aren't recognized either by California or federally.
I'm happy to work with you on that, and we do also have a religious, a narrow religious exemption, so we can certainly work with you.
Okay, thank you.
And we'll engage in that discussion as well, which was an important piece to the amendment for us as well. Any other questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Oh, Vice Chair.
Yeah, sorry, I've been bouncing around to several committees this morning. Maybe we can do something about committee scheduling. But you know, and we kind of got into this in the previous bill. Look, I just think the better way to deal with this in a democracy and in a free market economy is that consumers, you know, can demand that practices change by the way they act and by the products that they decide to purchase or not purchase. And in this sphere, that's already happening, you know, as Assemblymember Kalra pointed out, which again brings me back to what's the point of this bill? I don't think it's really our role to decide who needs fur and who doesn't, and to make those kind of judgments. Just because you perhaps think that, you know, you have a moral objection to it doesn't mean that, you know, everybody in society should, or that we should use the power of government to enforce that and impose that on everybody else. People can act in a democratic society with their feet and with their purchases. And so, I mean, I think that's what the fundamental issue here is. And the argument that we don't really need fur anymore, or that you shouldn't do this in this context, can easily be applied to, very easily, the same exact line of argument be aligned to say, hey, we shouldn't raise cattle for food. You know, that we shouldn't, you know, I mean, every year I harvest a rice crop. I kill a plant in order to provide that rice that feeds people throughout the world. If we're going to argue that, hey, you shouldn't kill a living thing, you know, plants are also living, you know, just so, I mean, the whole argument can go to a crazy conclusion, essentially. And so, you know, if it's not okay in this context, again, let's allow the free market to decide what products people want and what markets are actually commercially viable, and not do so by
I'd like to ask those in the audience if we could please allow the Vice Chair to make his comments, and you've all had your time to speak already. Thank you.
Right. I mean, this is, you know, I think this is a legitimate practice. I don't think there's any moral objection to those who, for instance, trap. You know, that is a form of hunting. It is a form that, you know, maybe it's not where you come from, you know, and it's not something that people do. But in my district, yeah, people do trap, you know, and yeah, there are people that have, you know, that desire to have fur and that desire to, you know, engage in that commercial market. I don't see that you can make that same, you can say that is immoral and wrong and must be banned, and yet still say, and we already do have, some of your colleagues in Washington, D.C. have an objection to cows and want to make that part of the Green New Deal. I'm sorry, that is not consistent with a democratic free market society. It's consistent with an authoritarian one. It's consistent with a socialist one, but it's not one that I want to adopt, you know, here in this country. And, you know, those who really have strong feelings about it, many of them in this room, you're already acting in your own democratic way of doing that. We don't need to utilize the power of government. You can make your point, and you have made your point. And obviously industries have moved away from this precisely because you have been acting. So the system works. And this is why I'm not a fan of these blanket bans on certain practices that really are about your own personal predilections, you know, not about, you know, and it doesn't take into account that maybe people view the world a little bit differently than you, and maybe people are engaged in different activities. Maybe they grew up and recreated differently than you did, you know. And so that's what this bill to me is fundamentally about, and we shouldn't go down this road because tomorrow it might be something else that you really, that's part of your livelihood, that's part of, you know, your culture, part of your, you know, upbringing, that someone decides to ban, and you might be opposed to that. But if you're confronted with the same, you know, with the same thing, and we continue to move down this road, who's going to be there to speak for you? I think that's really the case. So
We have.
with that, I would urge a no vote on this bill.
We have another colleague ask a question, and we'll let you close comments. Doctor?
Thank you. I hear your side of a story and what the intent is. Among many questions I would like to ask, by banning these for products for sale in California, what kind of economic impact will it make negatively to our state? And what kind of revenue impact to the state will this bring about? If you have any figures, I would like to hear. Secondly, if we make these products banned for sale in our state, as you heard a while ago, that we cannot control the world. This practice may continue in other states, in other countries, and if I desire, when I travel, I can buy them. And so just creating inconvenience for the consumers. And third party, we can say, is to be humane to the animals, etc. All lives matters. But some animals that we consume, such as lamb, we can kill them and eat them. That's not inhumane, but some other products that we can use for human consumption, for our necessity, etc. Those are not humane. How do you really define those kind of definitions among different animals?
Thank you. I would like to just try to quickly answer the questions. In terms of economic impact, I can't give you any exact figures, but the bill still does allow the sale of certain fur products, cow, sheep, leather. So if there are businesses that are selling those kinds of products, they wouldn't be allowed to sell a mink or a fox, but they would be able to sell those other types of furs as well as synthetic furs. So you could still have a store that sold fur. It would just be selling a different type of fur. And then about your question about buying elsewhere, that is true. You could buy the fur elsewhere. But us in California acting does send a very strong market signal. It would change product streams from major manufacturers, as we've seen with our fuel vehicle standards, for instance, where they don't just make those higher standard vehicles for California, they make them for the rest of the nation, so we expect that to have an impact. But yes, you could certainly buy furs from other places, as you can many products that we don't allow here, foie gras and other things. And I will just say to Mr. Gallagher, I do hear your argument and I understand it, and I appreciate it, and I think that it's the correct question to ask. But I will say that for this particular product, I don't believe that the types of fur that we're attempting to impact are humane. I don't think that they're humanely raised. I don't think that you can take an animal that is not a domesticated animal, but a wild animal like a fox, a mink, and raise it in a very small cage in a humane way. It's just not possible. These are animals that want to roam and be free. And we know from numerous exposés that have been done about the fur industry around the world that while there might be some very good actors in this space, there are a lot of bad actors in terms of how the animals are slaughtered and trapped. And so I do think that we have a responsibility as a state to make sure that our products aren't causing misery around the world. And this is a product that by its nature is not only unsustainable, because even though there's some byproducts that are used, these animals would not be raised. These wouldn't exist if it wasn't for fur. It's not a byproduct of some other use. They're fur-only animals that are being trapped and raised, and that is in itself not sustainable because the fur is easily replaceable. So it's not a good use of resources when there are alternatives like animals that are, where the fur is a byproduct of food production. So I think in its very nature, it's unsustainable. I believe in its very nature, it's inhumane. And I do think that California has a responsibility to protect those who can't speak for themselves. And lastly, I'd say that fur does not embody California's values. Our values are of compassion. And so I think it's appropriate for the state to say, this is a product that we believe does not fulfill those values. It's not what we want to see in our state, given all of those different problematic elements. And by acting, we do send a signal. I'll say one other thing. I represent Hollywood. I have a lot of people in my district who do wear fur. And when I've spoken to those people, they don't know where that fur comes from. They don't know how it was raised. They don't know what country it came from. When you tell them, a lot of them are kind of horrified. So it's not the case that consumers are always making an educated decision. And I think that this also sends a signal to them that that maybe there's, rather than going out of state to buy fur, to go to a more humane alternative. And with that, I would ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. No other questions or comments? There is a motion by Mr. Calra, second Ms. Gloria. I'll ask for a roll call.
The motion is to pass as amended to the Committee on Judiciary. Eduardo Garcia. Aye. Garcia, aye. Gallagher? No. Gallagher, no. Bigelow? No. Bigelow, no. Choi?
No.
Choi, no. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Daly? No. Daly, no. Friedman?
Aye.
Friedman, aye. Christina Garcia? Aye. Garcia, aye. Gloria? Aye. Gloria, aye. Calra? Aye. Calra, aye. Levine? Levine, aye. Blanca Rubio? Aye. Rubio, aye. Salas? Wood? That passes 8-4.
Okay. Thank you very much. We're going to keep the call open for other members to add on. Sergeants, if you'll let the other members know that we're going to keep it open for 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I do want to amend code, Annie. Okay.
We'll start with add-ons to the first bill, which was AB 209, Limon. Secretary, please call the members who were absent.
AB 209, Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Calra? Aye. Calra, aye. Salas? 8, 9, 10. That passes.
Okay. We'll go to the next bill, which is AB 273, Gonzalez.
AB 273, Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Calra? Aye. Calra, aye. Salas? 9-3, that passes.
We'll leave that open for other member to add on, and then we'll go to the proposed consent calendar.
On the consent calendar, Gallagher?
Aye.
Gallagher, aye. Chu? Aye. Chu, aye. Calra? Aye. Calra, aye. Salas? 13-0.
Okay.
That passes.
And the rules?
On the adoption of committee rules, Gallagher?
No.
Gallagher, no. Chu?
Aye.
Chu, aye. Calra?
Took off.
Okay.
It's gone. Didn't stay around for the rules.
Yeah, we have enough. 8, 9. 9-3. So we have,
They add on to everything else?
You're good. Okay. We're good. We will leave the call open for another 3 minutes for members to add on. It's just Rudy, right? We're going to open the call for Assembly members to register their votes from the top. AB 44, Friedman.
Aye. AB 44, Salas? Aye. Salas, aye. That passes 9-4. AB 209, Salas? Aye. Salas, aye. 11-0. AB 273, Salas? Salas not voting. That's 9-3. Consent calendar, Salas. Aye. Salas, aye. It's 15 to 0. On the adoption of committee rules, Salas. Aye. Salas, aye. 10 to 0. 10 to 3.
All right, thank you. We'll
Mr. Wood.
allow Dr. Wood to add on to a few bills.
Start from the top. Oh.
AB 44.
AB 44, Wood. Wood, aye. 10 to 4.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wood. At this time, we will adjourn our Water Parks and Wildlife Committee hearing.